My husband slept with my niece while I was on a business trip. This niece is my brother's daughter, and she is 23. For more than a year, I felt she was looking way too much at my husband, who is 40, but my mind couldn't accept this, and I told myself I was crazy. I know she admires him. She is very vocal about it. I didn't do anything because I never saw anything suspicious on his side. My brother is a loser, to be frank, and a poor excuse for a father. He drinks, gambles, and is usually unemployed. My husband frequently collects him from the hospital and pays for the medicine he needs for his liver. A lot of times when my niece was still a child, I took care of her, cooked for her, and got her ready for school. Her mother left with someone else and abandoned her with her father. My husband is the complete opposite of him. He takes care of his appearance, has a successful business, and 45 employees. She looks up to him and said she learned a lot from him about how a business works. The line was really crossed when one day she insisted on ironing his suit. He always wears suits and ties, and she wanted to prepare it for him. I was very busy with my 7-year-old daughter, who had a hard time getting used to the new school, and I let it pass. It was a very stressful period for me, and she helped. I told her I would just order food every day, but she wanted to be useful, so she said. She cooked what he liked to eat, never asked what we wanted, just what he wanted. 3 days ago, I found out he slept with her while I was away on a business trip. I had left my daughter with them in the house, but he took her to my mother. I actually got an anonymous text, which turned out to be from a friend of hers. I hoped it was a stupid joke, but I told him I knew he slept with her, and he started apologizing and explaining that it happened just once, that they had wine, and it happened. I don't know what to do now. Another reason why I think he didn't groom her was that this is not the first time she sleeps with a married man. She did it last year too. I had a talk with her back then, and she was very proud of what she'd done. She wasn't looking for love, she just fancied the idea of sleeping with a man in power. That man was also of high social status and in the military. It's her thing. She sees these kinds of men as superior and worthy. She never gave any chance to a guy her age and looked down on them. She's not like a lot of modern young women who want to be independent and strong. She knows she is beautiful and is playing the beauty card. She is extremely feminine to the point that even her voice is always soft and low, like she wants to appear submissive and good girl. She never went clubbing, for example, because good girls don't do that. She doesn't want a driver's license because she feels it's masculine to drive a car. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "For me, it's she, yeah, typical angry wife at the mistress, call it so. But I helped raise this child. I was a mother figure to her. I didn't feed him. I didn't help him with homework. I didn't get him ready for school." Now for the update. I have an update. My mother tried to talk to her again, and Anastasia, my niece, told her that she hates me and has hated me for years. That I have everything and didn't have to work for it, that she was left behind by her mother, was pitied, and even mocked at school by others because she has a loser drunk father. While I had a perfect life, a perfect career, and a perfect husband, I was envied and admired. She was shamed and pitied. I also needed to return home because it will affect me in court if I don't allow my husband to see his daughter. I found a mess in my bedroom. My husband was cleaning it up with my mother. Anastasia threw out all my stuff from the closet and wanted to put hers there. Mother said that my husband needed to grab her hands and immobilize her because she acted crazy. She hit him, and in the end, he also hit her to stop her from scratching and kicking my mother, confirmed. She did attack her. My husband called a doctor to give her something to calm her, and this worked. He begs me to forgive him. He was always the arrogant, confident man who was being begged for one thing or another by people around him. I've never seen him so ruined. My mother cried and told me this is not the first time she attacks her when angry, but she never did anything about it because the girl suffered enough, and having something like that on her record might hurt her future even more. Also, my brother continues to be a total piece of and ask my husband if he will give him more money because of this. It almost sounds like he wants her to be a prostitute. Okay, maybe it's too much, but it definitely goes that way. I just want to stop talking to all of them. Then OP replied to a comment. My husband had this weird thing for her or about her. He didn't want her near our daughter because she is a bad example. At the same time, he liked that she is so feminine, and he also thought that we help her too much. He admired her for being better than her parents, lol, and thought there was something wrong with her at the same time. Now for the next update. I had a talk with my husband. He said he didn't think she was that unstable. Great. So you slept with her because you thought she was stable. How does that help? She wants him. I already blocked her number, but she still texted me from some new one that I blocked too, saying how we all call her crazy, but it's the crazy that makes intimacy interesting, and he will come for more. I really cannot believe this is my niece. She said how she deserves him more than I do, that I don't deserve a man like him, that I deserve one like her father. My mother is in a sensitive situation now. She said that the girl was hysterical with both of them, her and my husband. Neither wanted to call the police because that would lead to so many questions about what happened between them. He doesn't want his associates to find out, and my mother, well, it's still her granddaughter, and she didn't want to cause her problems. This is why my husband, in the end, slapped her so bad that it threw her to the floor. But it calmed her down because she got scared and covered her face in fear. He literally told her that if she doesn't get out of the house, he will slap her again. It really felt like I know this from my mother. Only physical force, or rather the threat of being beaten, slapped by him, made her take a step back. My brother is drinking as if nothing matters to him, and even asked my husband if he can give him more money because of this. And in a sick way, he is above it all. Not like, because of what you did. More like, because you got to sleep with my daughter. It's almost like he feels that his daughter sleeping with my husband was a way to get under my husband's skin or show that he is thankful. This is all in my head. No one confirmed this hypothesis, but these are the vibes I get from him. I even speculated whether my brother knew about what she is doing. You suspected my mother, but I bet she didn't. She is a broken woman because of her son being such a waste of space, but she has always been very open with me about everything. Here is the script based on the text you provided. I am not trying to defend him. I just honestly told you from the very beginning I feel more betrayed by her than by him. I feel what I feel. You are confused why I'm fixed on her. I am confused why do you want me so much to just ignore her? Yes, I feel more betrayed by her. When he cheated in the past, I didn't even care who it was with. My problem was him, but I did so much more for her, my niece, than I did for him. When my daughter was born, she was extremely jealous, so I treated her like my own child, even going so far as to throw her a birthday party just so she doesn't feel sad that I did it only for my daughter. She lied to me about being sick. She said her doctor is afraid she has cancer. She even told her colleagues at uni she has cancer. It was all nonsense. This happened 2 years ago, and my husband told me that he will divorce if I don't put distance between us and her. Yes, I hate her, both of them, but I hate them more. I took my daughter to my mother because I needed to leave the hotel and pack everything, and she was there. She came after I left and started yelling at my mother in front of my daughter that my husband rapped her after sending me tens of messages how great and kinky their intimacy was. Now he rapped her, and she plans to go to police that he rapped and slapped her. I just can't. I want to leave the city, but I cannot take my underage girl with me without his consent. Now for some new comments. While I was at the hotel, I talked with him on the phone and asked for his version of events. I told him that I am willing to believe they had intimacy just once, but I am not naive enough to believe there was nothing before this. With great difficulty, he admitted and showed me texts from her, so I believe that she spent a night in our house while I was away. This happened 2 months ago. She texted him that her father threw her out the house because they had an argument and he pushed her into the wall. It was middle of the night and she texted him if she can go and sleep in our house. I read the text messages. All the screenshots were a proof. He picked her up. We have 3 empty rooms she slept in one of them. He swore nothing happened, but they drank in the kitchen until 4 in the morning and they talked about her father. And she just told him that she wishes her father was more like him. But he didn't think much of it. He said he took it as an appreciative comment, and after emptied his glass, he went to sleep. Then another comment. I was accused by some that I am the worse here because instead of protecting her from him when she was a teen, I let him eye her. Where did you even get that from? I will not forgive him. I will not divorce him. Just leave me feel without calling me unhinged for that. Yes, his infidelity now is not my biggest concern right now. I kept this title for the update because it all started with this. I am hurt more by the fact that the girl I loved so much not only wanted my husband, but she also hates me. She hates me from the bottom of her heart, and I didn't even suspect this. She hates my daughter, who also adores her. I thought she adores her too. They spent so much time together. My niece was playing with her for hours, and now I found out she's disgusted by me. I don't think you realize how horrible this is. And what a shock, also, to know that my mother hid from me how unstable she is, what she has been talking about me. His infidelity and betrayal hurts, but you didn't ask me what our relationship is, how close we are, how much he means to me. She meant to me more than him. After that first cheating episode, I think a good part of my love died. But we didn't divorce, we stayed for the child. I know it's not a good idea, but for us it worked somehow. I still loved him, but not so much anymore, because he hurt me. But I loved my niece more than him, and the fact she slept with him is horrible. But what I heard her telling me about how she feels about me hurts even more. Am I the idiot for kicking my brother out of my wedding, for humiliating my wife and refusing to apologize? My wedding was this past weekend, and I'm honestly still in shock over what happened. My fiancé, now wife, and I have been together for 7 years. We've gone through everything together. Moving in, job losses, her battle with anxiety, everything. So our wedding day was supposed to be our day to finally celebrate all that, right? Well, it was until my brother decided to ruin it. For context, my brother, male 30, has always had a weird thing about pranks. He calls them jokes, but honestly, they've always been mean-spirited and embarrassing. Growing up, I'd laugh it off or get mad, and he'd say I was being too sensitive. But this time, it went way too far. During our reception, he got up to give a speech. I thought it would be nice. Maybe he'd say something heartfelt for once, but no. Instead, he pulls out a slideshow of hilarious photos of my wife, old ones from her Instagram, where she's crying, looking vulnerable, or just super unflattering. And he starts making jokes about her weight fluctuations, saying how she used to look like a twig when we first started dating, and now she's more well-fed. My wife's face turned white. She started crying quietly, and my brother, he just kept going, laughing like he was the funniest guy on the planet. The whole room was dead silent. I saw red. I stood up, walked right over to him, and told him to leave, right in the middle of his speech. I said he was done, and I didn't care if he was my brother. My wife was humiliated. He tried to brush it off, saying I was ruining the fun and that everyone else thought it was funny. No one laughed, not one person. He refused to leave at first, so I told security to get him out. He stormed out, calling me a fucking drama queen. On the way out, now, my parents are furious with me for embarrassing my brother at my own wedding. They think I overreacted, that I should have let it slide because he didn't mean it. My mom even said my wife was overreacting too, and that this was all just part of his sense of humor. My wife hasn't stopped crying since. I told my family we're taking a break from them, but now my phone is blowing up with texts from my mom and dad, saying I've fractured the family and ruined my own wedding over a joke. I get that I blew up, but I couldn't stand seeing my wife so hurt. Did I go too far? Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "Your brother really embarrassed your wife in what was meant to be a special day to celebrate you both. It sounds like he's got a lot of growing up to do, and you are the first one to tell him so. Your wife is now a part of your family, and your brother needs to realize that he has seriously messed up. Your parents have probably been enabling your brother too. He needs to man up and apologize, not the idiot." Another commenter added, "And now everyone knows what a complete jerk the brother is. Someone has just got to tell the parents they've backed the wrong child." Another person commented, "I'd bet good money that fractured the family means that everyone else now thinks OP's brother, and possibly parents too, are weirdos for this whole situation. This wasn't a prank. He curated a slideshow and roast session for the wedding. It's even stranger because it was completely uneven. Why does he feel the need to pick on the bride over his own brother? Probably because he knew she'd give him the reaction he wanted, and he's a jerk." Now for the 12-day update. Hey everyone, I posted here a little while ago about what went down at my wedding, and I just wanted to say thank you for all your comments and support. It's been a rough week, but I figured I'd update everyone on what's happened since then. After kicking my brother out, I stuck to my word and told my family we were taking a break. I blocked my brother on everything, and my wife and I decided to focus on each other for the week, just trying to recapture some of the joy that was stolen from us on our big day. We went on a mini honeymoon to a cabin we'd rented and tried to shut out the drama for a bit. However, as soon as we got back, my parents showed up unannounced. They claimed they just wanted to talk it out, but the second they sat down, it was clear they were there to defend my brother. They kept repeating that I overreacted and that he was just trying to be funny. My mom even said, "You know how your brother is. He didn't mean to hurt anyone." I told them that whether he meant it or not, he did hurt my wife, and that's not something I can just brush off. My dad then hit me with, "Family is family. You don't turn your back on blood." And I honestly lost it. I told them that my family is the one I chose to build with my wife, and if they can't respect her, then they don't get to be a part of our lives. They left in a huff, saying that I was being manipulated and that my wife was too sensitive. The day after that, my brother tried reaching out through a mutual cousin this time, saying he didn't mean any harm and that he's willing to forgive me if I apologize for embarrassing him in front of everyone. This absolutely floored me. I realized in that moment that he still doesn't see what he did as wrong. I haven't responded, and I don't plan to. My wife and I have started couples therapy, not because there's anything wrong between us, but because I want to make sure that she feels supported and knows that I'm fully on her side. It's been helping her process what happened, and I think it's helping me realize just how toxic my brother's behavior has always been. We've decided to have a small private vow renewal next year, just us and a few close friends, to reclaim what that day was supposed to be for us. In the meantime, we're focusing on our future together and cutting out anyone who doesn't respect us as a couple. So yeah, maybe I did fracture my family, but if my brother's jokes are more important to them than my wife's happiness, then I'm honestly okay with that. Thank you again to everyone who reached out. It meant more than you know. Now for a few more comments. One commenter said, NTA, as we said in your previous post, screw your family. You deserve a good life with your wife. Another suggested, Mom, Dad, brother, here is a bill for our wedding and the reception. Until I am reimbursed in full, I am going no contact with all three of you. And for the record, this is my decision. My wife wants to let all this go and move on. But I do not. You all have made excuses for brother's shitty, immature behavior his entire life. And now it's cost you one of your children. The three of you will pay for the wedding brother ruined, even if you have to mortgage your house and work until you are 80 to do it, or this will be the last time any of you see or hear from me. Another update, 3 days later. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. And wow, I'm honestly still blown away by how much support this post has gotten. My wife and I have read through so many comments, and it's really helped validate our feelings during this tough time. Thank you all so much for that. A bunch of you suggested I show my parents this post to help them understand just how wrong my brother's actions were. I did, and let me tell you, the reaction was mixed, to say the least. I sent them the link and told them to read through the post and comments. I wasn't expecting them to suddenly change their minds, but I was hoping they'd see how almost no one is defending my brother's actions. My dad hasn't said much since, but my mom doubled down, saying that the internet doesn't know our family and that people are too quick to judge. She even tried to say that the commenters don't understand that my brother just jokes like that. Needless to say, we're still not seeing eye to eye. I told her that this isn't about my brother's intentions, but about the harm he caused my wife, and if she can't understand that, then we need more time apart. As for why I didn't punch my brother in the face like many of you suggested, I get it. Trust me, the thought crossed my mind in the heat of the moment. But honestly, I knew that if I reacted physically, it would have taken the focus off what really mattered. My wife's feelings. It wasn't easy to keep my cool, but I didn't want to give my brother the satisfaction of making me look like the bad guy in front of everyone. Plus, I didn't want to escalate things even further and turn an already horrible situation into an even bigger disaster. I needed to be there for my wife, not in a brawl. At the end of the day, kicking him out was the right call. I chose to stand up for my wife in a way that protected her dignity and our marriage. My wife has been incredibly supportive, and we're focusing on moving forward together, no matter what my family thinks. Thank you all again for your comments, advice, and kind words. They've been a lifeline for us during this really difficult time. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, your mother defending your brother's boorish behavior just showed off what a shitbag she raised him to be. You may want to point out that he embarrassed both of your parents with his display too. He showed your family and the world they taught him that attacking a woman on her wedding day was not only acceptable to them, but defensible. So they're shoot parents. Congrats. Then I replied, I get what you're saying, and it's hard to ignore how my parents have enabled my brother's behavior for so long. It's not just about the prank, it's about the pattern. The fact that they're defending his actions on such an important day does speak volumes. My goal isn't to bash them, but I do hope this serves as a wake-up call for them. At the end of the day, my wife comes first, and I won't let anyone, family included, treat her like that. They need to see that actions have consequences, no matter how funny someone thinks they are. Another commenter added, it wasn't a prank. A prank involves a joke. Like if he hid tiny rubber ducks all over the venue, that would be a prank. What he did was spend, from the sounds of it, hours on finding pictures, editing them into a slideshow, and writing a horrible speech. All of this was to humiliate you both on the happiest day of your lives in front of everyone you love and care about. Someone else agreed. Absolutely, that's premeditated cruelty, not a prank. He clearly planned to hurt you both. Then another commenter suggested, enter your parents' home, urinate on the floor. That's just how I am. I know it's dreadful behavior, but you're my parents and should enable me to behave as badly as I like. Leave. Repeat every time you visit. This can be substituted for any other extreme but attention-grabbing act you wish. I responded, well, if that's the standard we're going by, maybe I'll just bring a bullhorn next time and announce, I'm not disrespectful, it's just my quirky sense of humor. I'm sure they'll love that excuse, right? Let's see how many family gatherings I get invited to after that. Am I the idiot for freaking out over my boyfriend's old photo albums and questioning his loyalty? My boyfriend keeps secret albums of his ex that I discovered while cleaning. I don't know what to do. So it's as the title says, but I'll give you the full context. I, female 28, and my boyfriend, let's call him Michael, male 29, have been together for 3 years. We met through a mutual friend, let's call her Amy, female 29, who he's known and been best friends with since preschool. Amy and I met through work. From the get-go, Michael was honest with me and told me he and Amy dated when they were both in high school for about a year. They ended things mutually before they finished school, and Amy later came out as a homosexual, and is in a long-term happy relationship. So needless to say, I have never been worried about their relationship being anything weird. We fell in love fast and were moved in together within a year. The reason I adore him so much is I thought we were always open and honest with each other at every step of our relationship. He's been open about all his exes and had made it clear that I am IT for him. So on to the issue. Michael is currently out of town on a work trip. It's the time of year that I, a Halloween fanatic, decorate my entire house for the holiday and was excited to get started while I had the house to myself. So I got to removing some of our everyday decor and putting them into boxes under our bed. I found a box that I assumed was empty and pulled that out to start packing stuff into. To my surprise, the box had 2 photo albums inside of it. Now, I am easily distracted while cleaning, so if I find photos or something I haven't seen in a while, I usually stop to look at them and then move on. I expected to see photos of my boyfriend with family and being a cute kid, and I'm such a sucker when it comes to that. He was the cutest kid ever. But I was shocked when I opened the first album, and it was only photos of Amy as a kid, with some of him included in there too. The further into the book I got, the more photos of Amy there were through the years. Clearly, these were pics from school the two of them had taken. The second album was even worse. It was entirely made up of photos of their one-year relationship, and it included pictures of them kissing, their names written in the sand, and even some borderline spicy pics. Nothing explicit, just rather suggestive. I don't know what to do. I don't know if this means he still loves her, or whether this is just him being sentimental and wanting to preserve the memories of their past. I'm not sure how to confront him about this, and if I even should. Any advice is appreciated. Edit. Thank you for so many helpful comments. A lot of you have really opened my eyes on the fact I might have some insecurities that I wasn't aware of. Some stuff I mentioned in comments but didn't include in the post might be helpful to add in. I have not had a boyfriend before Michael. I've dated, but never been in a relationship, so I don't have an ex, and so don't experience sentimentality for past relationships. So I didn't have that perspective. I'm not really sure why so many people seem to think I want Michael and Amy not to be friends, or for him to throw all the photos out or something. The issue was more that I perceived the photo albums being under our bed as being hidden, when people have pointed out they could just be forgotten about and stored away. I love Amy. We worked together in a bar for years, and she has become one of my friends, separate from Michael's friendship with her, which of course is much stronger. My worry wasn't that they were going to end up together. It was concern that having photos in an album of a relationship from over a decade ago was somehow Michael still having feelings for Amy. I now feel like the comments have illuminated to me that this probably is not the case. Michael is away until Monday, so I will talk to him when he gets back, and just mention that I was cleaning and found them, and it briefly brought out some insecurities in me. Thank you to everyone who wrote out thoughtful messages. I appreciate even the harsher real talk ones that snapped me out of my initial panic. Now for a few important comments. No Transition 3259 said, "Take a deep breath, OP. It's gonna be okay. Just talk to him about it. I know it's easy to jump to the worst conclusion, but he probably kept them because he would feel bad throwing them away. If it was an album filled with naked pics, I'd be more concerned. I'm sure it's going to be okay." Then OP replied, "This comment definitely pulled me out of my spiral. Haha. I feel kind of reassured by y'all's opinions because it doesn't seem like anyone thinks it's for any weird reason. I guess I just had a moment of panic, especially as it was just albums of Amy, but they did grow up really close. I guess I just didn't expect he would have physical reminders of their relationship. I will definitely bring it up to him and let him know I'm not mad and don't think the worst of him." Eloquent Philosophy commented, "He also might have put it there 2-ish years ago when you moved in together, meant to talk about it, didn't find the right time, and forgot about it. To share a not really similar but touchy conversation with the light of my life for the past 16 years. When we started dating, I had forgotten his home number and looked it up in the local white pages, and a woman's name was on the listing. We were long distance at the time. I was working on a documentary in MS after Hurricane Katrina and hadn't been to his house yet in no contact, 500 miles away. I asked about it in a snippier tone than I would have liked. 'My dead mother,' was his response. He'd never changed the account. Please don't assume the worst. I never know what to do with old pictures. If she was important enough to be a part of his life, how do you dump 2 albums in the trash? And how do you show them to your new honey?" Then OP replied, "Thank you for this perspective. It makes a lot of sense and definitely true that I jumped to conclusions really quick. I do trust my boyfriend, which is why I felt so confused, but these comments have really helped." Cold Brew Enthusiast added, "You also have to remember something. He can love you and be faithful to you while also having fond feelings about the relationship he had with her, and with other women as well. We don't exist in a vacuum of our present relationships. The experiences, the relationships, the feelings we've had with people in our past are what make us who we are today. And just because a relationship is ended doesn't mean we don't occasionally think about past times and past feelings. I'm happily married, I'm a faithful partner, and I think about things in my past all the time. We process our past experiences throughout our lives. Just because he's with you now doesn't mean all thoughts of any happy times before you cease to be. He hasn't done anything wrong here. Even if he took that album out occasionally to flip through it, it's still not wrong. Your own insecurities here are coming to the surface. And yes, telling him you found his photo albums and looked through them is something you should do. Don't make up some elaborate tale about how or why you opened them. You just say, I was cleaning under the bed and found your albums. I didn't know what they were, so I opened them and flipped through. And I think this is where you say, it brought up some insecurities I didn't realize that I have. The books made me scared that maybe you still have feelings for her. I would bet you money here, and now that he'll tell you he doesn't have romantic feelings for her anymore, but she was an important part of his life for a long time. And this is where you, OP, need to tell him you understand, you trust him, and then you drop it. If you find you can't stop thinking about it or are unable to drop it, then it's time to seek out therapy to figure out why these insecurities are bubbling up like this. Now for the update, 4 days later. Hello again, folks. Not sure if people are still interested in this situation, but since I do have stuff to update you all on, I figured I would post here anyway for those who are still invested. Michael came back from his trip this morning, and it was so great to see him. I didn't talk about the photo album situation immediately, as he had been working all weekend and needed time to relax and veg out a little. Haha. The conversation actually came on pretty naturally, so I'll do an abridged summary here of what went down. Michael, the house looks so cute. I forgot we had most of these decorations. Me. Yeah, me too. A lot of them were stuffed under our bed, and I found a lot of things I'd forgotten about. God, yeah, I always just shove all my things under there and forget to ever sort through them again. It's funny you should mention that, because I actually found a couple of your old photo albums under there too. Oh, really? At this point, Michael's face didn't change. He didn't look worried or stressed, just interested. So there were 2 albums of pictures of you and Amy, smiling. Ah, really? I haven't seen pictures of us from school in so long. So you get the picture. He definitely was not hiding something from me, as most of you suspected. I went on to share how I initially felt and how I had jumped the gun a little, and he was very apologetic, which I absolutely told him not to be. I explained that all of this really came down to me having some insecurities. He was very kind and reassuring, and told me that he absolutely does not like Amy as anything more than his oldest and most loyal friend. He explained that the albums were made by Amy when they'd been dating for 6 months as a gift to him, so he had never had the heart to throw them out, which, let me be clear, I would never ask him to do. He asked if I was still uncomfortable with him having the albums, and I said no. I confessed about my post to this sub, which he actually found very funny I had done. He tends to be the one on Reddit. I usually only come on to look at dog pictures, and we looked through a few of the comments together. To summarize, we're good and had a productive talk. I did mention I want to work on some of my insecurities, and he told me that from his perspective, this wasn't such a big deal, but if I had felt so badly about the albums that I got genuinely upset, that it would probably be beneficial. So I will indeed work on myself. Thanks to everyone who did leave a comment on my post with constructive advice. It really did mean a lot. Now for a few comments. Betty knows, this is my favorite update ever. Brave, Comment 979. Reddit has made me so jaded, I was not prepared for a happy ending. It's so nice when it's just normal. They communicated. It went well. Everyone is good.